The thing is, for me, I was a starter. So I started like 13 years ago, then I was 40 years old. And so starting a band like this was something new to me. And as I am an autodidact and I haven't studied music, and I'm used to find out things and to make them go through my filter and my possibilities to make my own music. So I had to discover a big band. I had to discover big band music. I had to discover how to be a big band, how to work with a lot of people, things like that. So in the first years it was a little bit slowly, but I think I found my own system. And I have my likes. There's a lot of things I liked. I had for me, a big band is just being a big band with a lot of people. It's not the style, big band style as we know it from the 40s, 30s, 40s. That I'm interested, I like this thing, but it's not the thing I should do. I'm not a swinger as Count Basie is. So, and there's, for building up this band, there is a kind of teachers. So a teacher to me was Duke Ellington, Sun Ra. To me, Sun Ra is a big band. People like that, you know. And I'm interested in jazz and in as the musical form. So the people who play in Flat Earth Society need to have these skills. They must be jazz musicians, so they can read music, but they can improvise. They can understand things. You communicate orally. And on the other hand, there's so much music I like that I'm trying to make my own, not my own version, but I use everything that surrounds me. So it can be Bartók, it can be Ligeti, it can be, anyone. It can be jazz, can be pop, can be anything. It can be brass band music. It can all things just to create feelings and atmospheres, and that's the thing I want to do. And I try to find a way to put it to notes and to communicate these notes to the musicians, and with these musicians to communicate this music to the audience. It's true that it has its own rules. There are rules, and if you don't follow those rules, yeah, you can get stuck, and you have to find out those rules. And every now and then I got stuck. Then I tried to find out how could it be? Is it in the writing? Is it in the playing? Is it in the composition? Is it in the arrangement? Is it in the orchestration? Is it completely bullshit, or how can we do it a little? Is it just a matter of time? Sometimes it's just a matter of time, like a piece that doesn't work at all. I don't understand why, but it doesn't work. So if I leave it, and maybe 3 years later or 4 years later, so I take a piece back, put it again on the music stands, and it works. So why? I don't know why. So there's a factor, an irrational factor also. It's a science, but it's also a kind of science. I trust the other people, and I like to be at home, at my own, to think things out and put it to paper and to mess around with it. I like the messing around part of making music. I like a lot, but then when you go to musicians, you have to trust them, and sometimes, and mostly, they give much more than you could think of your own. So I can stop thinking about it. I can stop the science part of it. Just trusting the people, the musicians. I don't know how to explain. It's in a way it's very simple, because it's always the same everywhere on the earth. When people are together, they create problems, and mostly they are the same problems, and it will never be without problems. So you have to face the problems. You have to find a solution for 1 year, for 10 years, for 20 years. Belgium is an artificial country. It's an invention. In 1830, they were building Europe and dividing the countries and giving to this king and that king and that king, and they forgot about a place somewhere in the middle. And okay, we have a little piece of Flanders, and there's a little piece of French speaking and we forgot them, what will we do with them? Okay, let's make a country of it. And they make a country of it. They say, okay, now we have to find a king. Where will we find a king? So they found a king in Saxon-Coburg in Germany. I said, okay, we want to be the king. So Belgium is a very absurd thing, artificial thing. But it doesn't matter to me. You know, it's just a country like another country. And, but you can't say that there is a Belgian tradition, as you have like a Hungarian tradition, you have a Romanian, culturally, musically, you know. But there's not such a thing as a Belgian music. It doesn't exist. Belgian music is only a thing from now. And also, when you see the like arts, you have people like James Ensor, René Magritte, the most well-known Belgian artists are also surrealists. You know, they work with this kind of sometimes very macabre humor. You know that Le Grand Macabre by Ligeti is a Belgian, is by a Belgian writer, so the libretto is from a Belgian writer. So it's typical. It plays in Breugeland. You know, Bruegel was a Belgian or Flemish painter. So Belgium is a very strange place, and I like it. And so the problems that are in Belgium are, in a way, the same problems as you have everywhere, but they are on a not such a explosive level as everywhere. And then, of course, but it's no use to explain this. You have the French-speaking part and the Flemish-speaking part, and then they all for years already they have to find a way to live together, and then they will have to do this in 10 years and 100 years, I suppose. And if it's not that, it will be something else. So my native language is Flemish. As a musician, I can, let's say, for this already for 10 years, 13 years now, my main thing is working for Flat Earth Society, composing, inventing all kinds of projects. Then besides that, I'm still linked, or still working to compose something for other people, all kinds. It can be from the chanson genre, or pop, or rock, or more classical, more something. I go from one thing to another. And then I also have, I like to be, I'm not a real rocker, but I like rock music, and producing rock bands every now and then. I'm not a real producer, but every now and then I can produce something, a band that I really like, also the people, it has to, not on on an amateur way, when you like the thing, then I can work together. And so that's a bit my way to have a foot in rock music. And Deus was the first in this case. They were beginners, and I was a beginner. I'm always a beginner. I was a beginner as a producer, but I did it together with another beginner, Pierre Vervloesem, who is now the guitarist in the Flat Earth Society. No. The oldest member is the saxophone player, but Pierre, the guitar player, we've been producing. Every now and then we did some bands in Belgium. Actually, we got specialized in beginning bands, and mostly with beginner's luck. So the last beginning band is now here. I have it's a coincidence, but it's Madden Suyu. It's also a Belgian band, drum and guitar. It's a very good band, and so they also make their first record, and so it's nice for us to. I'd like to jump on this train, and again for 2-3 weeks we work. Good question. Why doing CDs? The day that there's no more CDs in the shops, we stop making CDs. But the important thing is, it's nice. Like I'm always writing things and trying things out, and it's not because even if there's no CD in sight, or I just I'm a musician. I make music, and not like most bands who wait until they have a contract and then I just make music, all kinds of music, and And it's nice to record it, but just in a way that just to make your own archive. It's nice to have a good recording of it in the literal sense of the word, you know, to record it, to remind it later, to have an idea. That's what we did on that moment. And for me, that's recording. It's just like we go in the studio, and on that day, that's the kind of pieces we play, we like to play, we can play, and we can play good enough to record. And that's, you know, the recording of the day. And maybe a week later it would have been other pieces. They would be very close to what we have. But that's a recording to me. And we try to do it as good as possible so we can offer it to people to listen to it. So it can be on a CD, or on the internet, you know. I don't care about if it's CD or not. It can be a gas to me or something. It could be a glass of water, and you can, okay, that's the record, and you can hear it, and it's okay to me. It's just a way to communicate things, and even if it doesn't sell, let's say, I feel we have to do it, because some pieces we did 10 years ago, I don't feel any urge to play them anymore now. Every now and then we take old pieces because we want to play them again, but it's nice to just to record it, to have this kind of archive, and so that's. In the beginning of the band we played, I chose very precisely a few existing pieces, also for me to learn what a band like this is, to feel the band. So and pieces not really meant to play them on a concert, but just for us to build up a sound also. So what was it? It was a Duke Ellington tune, was the Express, the train tune, Express something, I forgot it now. And then we also played Musique Mécanique, Carla Bley, because as a band, it was rather close to what we are. And so it's interesting to write it and then to play it, and because, you know, the pieces, they exist. And if it doesn't sound well, you know, it's our own fault. So you can check it. It's like for a classical orchestra to play Mozart, and if it doesn't sound, it's your own fault, because you know it sounds. So it's just to test and to mold to make a band. It's Daybreak Express, the piece. And but not really. Every now and then we take something existing, but we tried. I'm writing the most things of it, and now more and more Peter, the piano player, is writing things, and yeah, we try to create our own planet. And if we do classical things, we have a program, and there we play our versions of music of Ligeti, Stravinsky, what else? Kagel, Maurizio Kagel, Francis Poulenc, you know, this kind of George Antheil, Morricone, Scott Joplin, you know, that's our classics. That's what I think is our classics, and it's nice to play them, to play those pieces. We can't play this here, you know, but we try to find a special event, just, you know, to get still to train the head, but those pieces we don't play. So it's you know, it's really written. It's very precise. And that's what I like about Ligeti. It's very complex. Yeah. It's very difficult to play, but the basic idea is always very simple. Actually, he's a very simple composer, but you know, it's very difficult to play it, and the workout is really difficult. It's nothing for us. But what we did is he's a very funny man also, funny, but at the same time very close to earth, and that's what I like. And that's a bit, you know, sometimes they say about Flat Earth Society that, yeah, it's a funny band. But we're also close to earth. We have both things, I hope we have. And what we do with Ligeti, you know, the Musica Ricercata, but he himself 6 orchestrations of it for a wind quintet, which is called Bagatelle. And the other ones he didn't orchestrate. That's the one I orchestrated now for Flat Earth Society. And this Musica Ricercata is rather, it's not this micro tonality or this micro polyphony. It's rather, it's basic. It's a melody and a bass line, or it's very clear. The setup is very clear in these pieces. So we play them in December. I was on a Ligeti website, and there was a whole thing about clusters, and clusters are so interesting. But you have to know how to. He's a master in it. Also Gubadolina, those Volskaya, they are really masters in treating a cluster and to unravel them to something you can recognize. It's important to recognize something in music. As you have to. Otherwise, if you don't recognize it, you can't remember it. And if you can't remember it, you can't make a structure. Just like a chorus, you have to recognize it as a chorus or the refrain. If you can't recognize the tune, you can't build with it. So it's important to recognize it. And that's what I learned from Ligeti. You can do anything you want, but if you want to structure things, and structure things is to go with it somewhere, and to take the listeners and the musicians, to take them to a certain point. You have to manage this, and you have to work with things. So you have to be clear. And Ligeti has always been very clear. I'm not a master as Ligeti is, but Ligeti is always clear. Also another one is Lutosławski, the Polish one. He's also a master in treating these clusters, and it's as if you hear a tonality in it. And that's fantastic. So what is interesting to me in this working with clusters and is like it's if you treat them well, and I have to be a bit lucky in it, not the big masters. I have to be a bit lucky in it when you use them, and you can jump over a whole discussion of this difficult discussion of it's microtonal, atonal, or the dodecaphonic. This kind of you can link everything together. You can go with folk music, and you can have a folk music feeling, and still being in this cluster thing when you treat it well. And that's what there's also this Iva Bitova. It's also one of my big. I think most are Eastern European examples now, but it's not. Maybe it's not a coincidence. They can you can go as far, maybe intellectually or something, but still have this heart and blood and guts, and that's what I like about it. What I learned from Duke Ellington in comparison to Count Basie is Duke Ellington. His band, as a sound, is much more messy than Count Basie is the standard. He made the standard. I like Count Basie, but he made a kind of standard blending big band, and you hear the saxophone section, and it's like one smooth thing. When you hear the saxophone section of Duke Ellington, you can recognize, if you know them. You can, Harry Carty is playing, Johnny Hodges is playing, Jimmy Hamilton is playing. You hear the voices, you hear every individual voice. It's like in ancient music also, when you have a choir singing, you can have these choirs, and all voices, they go into one big sound, but you can also have this medieval polyphonic. Lots of Flemish choirs do this like this, and you can still recognize every voice. That's that woman, that's that man. And I like this, to have the individuality at the same time, but still making a unity. So that's what I learned from Ellington. And it made it also much more easy to find people. So it doesn't matter if they don't blend or not, we will see. And so that's one thing. And the other thing was I wanted people I liked also a lot as a person, because you will have not difficult moments, you will have these moments like sitting too long in a car, waiting too long for an airplane, rehearsing, these difficult moments, it doesn't work, and then you need people that you can work together, and so I was interested not in a trombone player, but I was interested in Stefan Blanke, and he's a trombone player. I was interested in the people, not in the instruments. still needing the instruments, but you know, the personal approach. I think it's to me it's very important. I don't like music. I can't listen to music without humor. But humor, to me, is not always something to. It's not always having a joke and laugh with it. You know, humor is just a way of looking at things and to have a relationship with these things. Like I think that Johann Sebastian Bach or Haydn, those people have a lot of humor. You know, I never, I'm laughing like this hearing a cantata, but these people have a humor, and that's important to me. You can't take yourself seriously all the time. It's impossible. You can do this when you're stupid, but not when, you know, maybe I'm stupid. But so humor is very important, and I like humor. I like absurd humor. I like sarcastic humor, and I like just being stupid. I like this, just being stupid. When you can go on the scene and just to be stupid for a moment, it's fantastic. You have to build in, you know, at the minimum a certain point where everyone knows the arrangement starts again. Maybe not noticeable for the audience, but for the musicians, that everyone has to know. You know, we're a band that everyone has to actually to perform it well. It's like chamber music. Everyone has to know what the other one does. Has to know every other part. So also that's the best improvisation, when you know what is happening. But it's improvisation. You can't know, but you have to be very clear in playing, and then you have to try to find out a way to you know, you can bit by bit. Someone is going in bit by bit, and without noticing, you can go in the arrangement again. So, and in this way, that's a very interesting way to work, because there are lots of ways to get back in the arrangement. You can also get back like this, and you can just also sneak in, and there's lots of ways to do this, and it's always a bit. You have to be lucky a bit, but that's just the tension. Tonight is actually mostly the program based on the last record, 13. But also already a lot of new stuff and it will be more. So yesterday we played in Vienna and in the jazz club, and there we tried to have some more jazzy pieces, and I think today will be more rock or I mean not jazz with a lot of chord schemes and improvisations and proof you can play, and so it will be more the rock thing, and yeah.